Who is Burrhus Frederick Skinner? Burrhus Frederick Skinner is a famous American psychologist from the School of Behaviorism. He also mentioned that humans move because they get stimulated by their environment. This system is also called operant conditioning. Burrhus Frederick Skinner was born on 20 of March 1904 in the small town of Susquehanna, Pennsylvania in the American Serikat. He studied English literature at Hamilton College, New York, and continued his studies in psychology at Harvard University. Burrhus Frederick Skinner wrote his first book entitled A Digest of Decision of the Attractive Board of Conciliation. This book was written with his father, which contained questions of legal documents. What is Skinner's view of humans? Humans are formed by the environment through our formation of humans into certain figures with certain aspects of personality. Burrhus Frederick Skinner also said his view of humans, that humans are not passive but active creatures looking for pleasant consequences.
B.F. Skinner distinguishes two types of behavior. The first is respondent behavior, and the second is operant behavior. Then, what is explanation? Respondent behavior is a behavior that appears automatically and reflexively, does not need to be learned and will be mastered by a human itself. For example, keep your hands away when accidentally touching a hot object. Operant behavior is behavior that must be learned. For example, when we know what it feels like to be praised and we become happy, so we continue to do this by learning. The next is Skinner's box experiment. Skinner used animals such as pigeons and rats as his experiment. A starving rat is put into a box. Every time the mouse presses the lever on the box, food will appear in the box. After pressing once, the rats will press the lever again for the second, third, and so on. So, the rats will learn that every time it presses the lever it will get food, and will repeat the behavior many times until there is a removal process by removing the reinforcement. From the experiment, it can be seen that reinforcement is very important in shaping. Along with these two kinds of behavior, there are two types of conditioning. For the first is S-type conditioning, and the second is R-type conditioning. S-type conditioning is emphasize the importance of the stimulus in eliciting the desired response. For example, when we hear a familiar mobile phone ringtone, we instinctively immediately take our cell phone, just to make sure that the sound is coming from our cell phone or someone else. This includes one of the classical conditioning. In R-type, there are two principles, so when the response followed by a reinforcing stimulus will tend to be repeated. Number two is a reinforcing stimulus is something that can increase the operant response. For example, like we do every time, we will get a bonus. Now strengthening is one meant by bonus. And the box experiment that Skinner did was to use R-type conditioning.
What is operant conditioning? Operant conditioning is the process of learning. According to Skinner, the concept of learning is a process where change in behavior occur when our response is reinforced. For example, if an employee is working diligently and his boss gives compliment and a pat on the shoulder, then the compliment and pat on the shoulder will make the employee work even harder. Positive reinforcement is giving reinforcement to strengthen behavior. For example, giving compliment to children so that they study harder. Meanwhile, negative reinforcement is removing unpleasant stimulus to strengthen behavior. For example, not cleaning the house if the child passes the exam. There is also positive punishment, which is giving unpleasant treatment to eliminate behavior. For example, giving additional assignment if students are late in submitting assignment. Then, the last is negative punishment, which is taking a pleasant stimulus to eliminate behavior. For example, parents confiscate cell phones when the test scores are bad. However, punishment is not always effective in shaping behavior. Why? Because it causes side effects such as bad emotional like as fear, shows what the organism should not do, not what it should do, so the mindset is already negative first. Justifies hurting others, so the children learn that in certain situations it is allowed to hurt others. A person does not do the behavior only when the punisher is present, can cause aggressiveness, and punishment often replaces an unwanted response with another unwanted response, such as a child who is punished will cry. Thus, today behaviorism is more inclined to look at the reinforcement side. Verbal behavior. When a child is on vacation at the zoo with his parents and then they come to the elephant's enclosure, suddenly the child points to the animal and says, "I want to ride the elephant." Then the child uses language and pointing action to ask for what he wants. When a child often hears his parents refer to an example of a vehicle with the word car, then when the child sees a similar vehicle will immediately say, "That's a car." When a child is learning to recognize a word, the parents will teach the word so that the child can imitate it. Cat, cat. When a child is eating food made by his mother, he will comment on the taste of the food. "Wow, so yummy." When a child who usually cries when he wants to get attention is not responded to by his parents, the crying behavior can experience extinction because he no longer gets reinforcement, namely attention from his parents. When a student has learned not to bother his friend, but one day when he feels bored, then he may experience spontaneous recovery, so that he starts bothering his friend again. When a child who has learned to avoid barking and aggressive dogs, after experiencing an unpleasant event with the dog, then the child generalizes his fear of other dogs that have similar characteristics but are not dangerous. When a pet dog has been trained to bark at strangers approaching the house, but not trained to bark at known people, then the dog has learned to discriminate between strangers and known people. When a student who can only do the exam by using a pen that is believed to make it easier for him to do the exam,